Who's coming with me?
It's the short shot. We the source now. Taking over the game. Put it on pass. Put it on
with a better roster.
With a better roster. To play the lobster. That the niggas never stop. It's the short shot. It's the short shot now. We the source over the game. Taking over the game. Put it on
with a better roster.
With a better roster. To play the lobster. That the niggas never stop.
You're the cancer. You can't call me a sick assassin. You can call me LeBron James. Make a decision, but you never had me in the take the division. But Lord, them that cause division, never get submission like I need permission. Niggas steady telling lies like a politician. Niggas need to cool it down, but we the new addition. Get a name is the source, just the reinvention. You think we not prepared for the fallout? Watch us stack this information.
Yo, welcome to the source, man.
Shalom.
This your brother.
Shalom, family. Shalom.
Brought to you by, sponsored by the Precepticons, man. We in the building, right? We want to y'all see the title, man. Peace and blessings to the chat, man. Peace and blessings. First and foremost, man, I want to give all praise and honor to Abanaw Yahweh Shema Mashiach Yahushai for another opportunity to be in front of my peoples. Right? So, everybody is up in arms about anti-Semitism and the Kyrie Irving and Kanye West situation. Everybody's talking about it. I've never seen so many quote unquote non-believers acknowledge that we are the true children of Israel. Right? Shout out to my brother Iz and Lahab in the building, man. Y'all want to say peace to the family?
Yeah, I want to say shalom to everybody that's joining us here for this live and in the chat. And just looking forward to a good, powerful bill. And that's really all I want to say. Let's get it.
You know, first thing first, all praises to the Most High. First thing first, Precepticons in the building. We the bullies. We the movement. All truth, man. And that's what we in search of. All praise to the Most High for letting us present this. And happy to be fellowshipping with my brothers, man, as we bring this information out. Appreciate you hearing me out.
All praise and glory, man. Yeah, man. So again, I've never seen so many non-believers acknowledge the one thing that has not been acknowledged in our entire existence, as far as publicly, that we are the children of Israel. So it kind of got everybody up in arms. And you know, shout out to the Yap gang. And the excellent work they're doing in DNA and bringing forth, educating us on anti-Semitism. Shout out to my brother Joshua, man. He's been doing an excellent job as of late. You understand? Scholastic Bully. Shout out to him, man. Source Debate League champion. Shout out to my brother James Cassell, man. I reached out to him a couple of days ago. Just kind of talked to him about, you know, picking his brain and kind of about some of the things and elements of discussion concerning DNA. And, you know, we're not in opposition to DNA, but I want to make it clear, you know, our primary source is the Bible. and I'm speaking for the Precepticons, right? And when we look at what's going on in today's time, can you give me Hosea 1 and 10? Baba Kasha, Hosea 1 and 10. What we seeing going on right now today, family, is biblical. Whether you like it, love it, understand it, believe it or not. The Bible already spoke of these things, that a certain fame would go out upon these descendants of slaves, these people that have been occupied in America and to the four corners of the earth in slavery. It's not coincidence what's going on right now. It's not the fact that we're saying that we're ancient Kemet that got everybody in an uproar. It's not a fact that we're saying that we're African and it got everybody in an uproar. It's simply because we're being acknowledged publicly as the children of Israel. And that's the problem, right? You got that, Hosea?
Khan. This is the book of Hosea, chapter 1, verse 10. Yet the number of the children of Israel shall be as the sand of the sea, which cannot be measured nor numbered. And it shall come to pass that in the place where it was said unto them, ye are not my people, there it shall be said unto them, ye are the sons of the living God.
So the Bible says that in that very place that it was said that you are not the sons of God, in that very place it will be said that you are, in fact, the sons of the living power. This is what we are, right? And for those that are in the know, for those that are experiencing, for those that read their scriptures daily, this is a time for you to rise up and be that bearer of light and that great example as we move away from hatred, right? And we uplift the acknowledgement and the recognition ultimately of the Most High in Christ. Because that's what this is all about, right? But as we look at DNA and we take a look at, some of the unveilings as we become more and more familiar with DNA and we become more familiar with anti-Semitism, I want to evaluate a few things. My brother Joshua did an excellent video the other day. We're going to review just a small portion of this, and I'm not going to keep y'all that long tonight, but we got a few questions, and we want to point out a few things concerning certain portions of history being left out. Now, I want to tell y'all right now, I'm not the DNA man, okay? But what I do know is this Bible, and I do know history, and I do know migration, right? So if we take what is being said about the Ashkenazi Jews, if we accept the fact that their DNA goes back to the Levant, what does that mean? So we're going to review a video right now. I believe it's about 4 minutes long, 5 minutes long. We're going to review this video, and I'm going to point out a few things of migration that have been left out of this narrative that I believe we need. Right? So I'm going to share my screen here. Peace of the family. Shout out to Yashar. I see you in the chat, brother. Source up or shut up. That's right. Source gang.
Shalom, family. What's going on? You sure the general in the building?
All right, let me put this disclaimer up first. I don't want no problems. Right? We don't want no problems. Right? Fair use, man. Right? Fair use. We're going to share a video from YouTube.
What happens when someone tries to advise the people? This is something that Ashkenazi Jews face false but oft repeated academic theory about their ancestral origin. This debunked origin about Ashkenazi Jews and, more importantly, those who are spreading disinformation about them. First, some necessary background info. The two largest communities or denominations within Judaism are Sephardim and Ashkenazim. Today's Sephardim, or Sephardic Jews, Jews who arrived in the Iberian Peninsula after the Babylonian and in Europe, the a record that is not contested. Ashkenazim, or Ashkenazi Danube Valley, some accounts dating as far back as 321 CE, but there are some who call these historical events into question. A hypothesis late 1800s states Ashkenazis all descendants of the Khazars CE in southeast Russia. A multi-ethnic conglomerate of Turkic people founded a powerful state made up of people from many different ethnicities.
Notice he said a multi-ethnic. Well, if they're multi-ethnic, then how do we have a DNA strand that is classified as Khazarian DNA? How do we have that? Would you pay close attention?
In the 8th century, this didn't migrate from Jerusalem and Babylonia into France and Germany, but rather migrated from modern Russia and Ukraine. The lack of proof for the theory hasn't prevented it from catching on with a number of geneticists, historians, linguists, and universities in Tel Aviv and Sheffield, England. The problem is that the kingdom of Khazaria was destroyed sometime in the late first millennium, and the next time we have records of Jews in that area, today's Western Ukraine and Belarus, is over 400 years later. Additionally, DNA tests have shown a relationship between as a connection to Middle Eastern people, but no connection between Ashkenazi Jews and the rival linguistic perspective. The main language of the Ashkenazi Jews, Yiddish, shows no trace of Turkic origin. Yiddish is considered a language. When Arabic words thrown under Bieder puts it, seems born by Jews in Eastern Europe during the last 6 centuries, as well as the Yiddish language as a whole, do not contain any link to Khazaria.
Now I want y'all to pay close attention. He said within the ears, can y'all hear me?
Khan,
Yes, sir. Yeah, Khan.
Okay, so I want y'all to pay close attention. He said within the last 6 centuries. How long ago was that? Right? That's 600 years ago. Think about this. See that? 600 years ago, which placed us 400 years ago was the 1600s, right? 200 more years, 1400s. So they're dating back the name pattern and the language back to the 1400s. But yet Khazaria was thriving in 700, 800 AD. Notice that.
So, who's pushing?
Have a link to your names 600 years ago. You are now American citizens, and your name have been colloquialized with the people of this region. So based upon the region in which you go, the names will change. Why? Because the first generation will have children that will be born in this society. The next generation will have children that was born in this society. The next generation will have children that was born in this society. So the names are going to change. if I take my children now and I move to China, 600 years is the example that's been given. What type of names will my descendants have? It's going to be more colloquial, right, in that region. So pay attention to that.
As the Yiddish linguist and author, not obtain any link to Khazaria. So, who's pushing this theory? Well, certain academics, for one. Their hypothesis got a big bump in 1976 when a writer and amateur anthropologist named Arthur Kessler published the now debunked book, The 13th Tribe. Kessler thought that on European it would
right there 1 second, bro. Can I be heard?
Yeah, loud and clear.
I want to just say something, man. The so-called Jewish people who are denying our identity and others who control the social media outlets, they are not the determiners of what's been debunked. Okay?
Right.
That guy, he just said a book that has now been debunked. If he didn't provide the evidence debunking it, that book has not been debunked. You know what I'm saying? And we have to be careful with misinformation because they are trying desperately hard to mislead our people. As we see the situation with Kanye, Kyrie Irving, these guys have not yet been debunked. Of all the torments that they've slid in their way, Kanye has not been debunked. Neither has Kyrie been debunked. And if you all notice, just to clear up this debunking lie that they use often, they throw that word around a lot, and it's for collateral, it's for damage control. If you notice, nobody's really addressed Kanye and Kyrie on the Jew thing. They've addressed them on the anti-Semitic thing, but they're really not attacking the Jew thing because they can't debunk it. Okay, pun intended. They can't get rid of the information. Too many facts there. So let's be careful as we listen to these Gentiles when they use words like debunk. Remember, this is their cover story, so they will make anything disinformation so that we never get to the real information. Okay, I just wanted to highlight that so we don't get confused as we watch this information.
Now, all praise and glory, and I appreciate that because that's the whole point, right? So again, society is based upon social engineering. So we're engineered to think a certain way, view things a certain way, right? So as we start to wake up and rebel against the social norm, and we start to actually research these things for ourselves, we're going to look at this book, Arthur Koestler. We're going to look at the writings from Ivan Fetterman, which is the eyewitness account where Arthur Koestler got his information from. See? So we're going to look at this in just one moment, but I want to finish this video so you all can see this is what they're putting out, right, as a determiner from you going into the information. Oh, well, that's already been debunked. Says who? Great point is, let's go back a little bit.
Kind of operation Most High.
Thrive. Kessler thought that proving Ashkenazi Jews were actually more European than Semitic, it would upend the foundations of European anti-Semitism. Ironically, Kessler's claims only serve to feed anti-Semitism by accidentally resurrecting only go on to serve the interests of bigots and the uninformed. After its publication, well, why would the be anti-Semitic instead of just another scholarly theory? It makes more sense when you look at some of the recent supporters of the theory, especially those outside of academia. These include online commenters who use it to delegitimize the Jewish people by classifying them as a fake nation delivered to the Palestinian Liberation Organization's legislative body. Abbas quoted Kessler and his theory that Ashkenazi Jews are descended from the Khazars, not the biblical Israelites. The allure of the hypothesis to someone like Abbas is clear. It delegitimizes Ashkenazi ancestral nationhood in the ancient land of Israel are easily dismissed. Too bad for Abbas that the science is not on his side, and that the genetic findings of Ashkenazi Jews point to people of Middle Eastern origin, not Turkic or Russian. It's also worth stating that your land accusations thrown at Jews and other Jewish alone are the only Jews, which is of course preposterous. It's not a stretch to say that throughout the centuries, anti-Semitic, xenophobic, and racist tropes have followed a similar path. Unfounded ideas that gain a foothold as they serve ostracization. It's always fun to learn about conspiracy theories. Sure, everyone loves believing that Tupac is still alive. Conspiracy theories. They're an entertaining showcase of the human imagination, but to take them seriously without doing some research, not a good look. Ashkenazi Jews are definitely Jews.
Well, we done the research.
This ability to be and to make an effort to sort out fact from fiction. Thanks for watching. If you like what we're doing here, consider subscribing. And if there's something...
All right. So, hey, did you notice the little Tupac comment?
At the end,
Yeah, that was offensive.
without some serious research, as if we are incapable of doing serious research when we're the smartest people on earth. Thus says the Lord.
Right. So my thing is this. He spoke of Arthur Koestler, but there's an element that's missing, family. There's a very serious element that's missing. And we're going to read a few articles so we can evaluate this thing. Right? Let's take a look at this here. Right? So within the video, if you noticed, they made a claim that if you deal with conspiracy theories, that makes you an anti-Semitic. Well, the thing is this, conspiracy theories is not anti-Semitic, right? And as I said before, my brother Joshua did an excellent video, which we're going to take a look at here in a minute, on defining what anti-Semitism is. It's just like racism. If I can't do anything to inhibit you or cause you to be unemployed or cause you to put you in a position where you can't provide for your family, or if I'm using something, right, as a slur or a negative deterrent from you that's causing you harm, then it's anti-Semitism. We have to take that in consideration, right? Otherwise, you're just a bigot, right? Or you are, you're just a rude person or a prejudice, right? You have prejudice, right? So let's look at this article here. Matter of fact, before we look at the article, let's go back and let's deal with a portion that's missing. Here's the problem. Matter of fact, let's read the article first. All right, watch this. Let me know if you can see my screen.
Which one you want me to read? Okay, the burials or the introduction? Can you hear me?
Look at the introduction. Yes.
All right. Introduction 1. It says advances in anthropology, and this is Kieslov A. and Faliva. Excavated DNA from 2 Khazar burials. Advances in anthropology. We report here what seems to be the first case of an ancient DNA study from Khazar burial mounds. Traditionally, Khazars are associated with ancient Jewish people, semicolon. However, the extent of that association remains unknown. Let's read that again. Traditionally, Khazars are associated with the ancient Jewish people. However, the extent of that association remains unknown. How can something be debunked? And I ain't trying to take your shine, you hear me, y'all. If
No, you got it.
things remain unknown, that don't make sense to me. Sorry. Let's keep reading. Overall, archaeology of a few hundred Khazar burials dated from 6th through 10th centuries assumed to be the timing for political history of the Khazars has not revealed any distinct indications to Jewish artifacts or anything related to ancient Jewish culture. It was certainly of interest to observe what the ancient Khazarian DNA would reveal in terms of haplogroups and haplotypes of Y chromosome, which could be rather distinctly assigned to some tribal affiliations.
Some tribal affiliations, right? So let's read the next article.
Can I be heard?
Yes, sir.
This is on burials, and you all can read the information on the screen. I'm gonna skip down to the reading. Abstract. To understand a biological tribal affiliation in terms of Y chromosomal haplogroups, subclades, and haplotypes of two excavated Khazar bone remains in the Lower Don region in the south of Russia. We have extracted and analyzed their DNA and showed that both belong to haplogroups R1A and its subclad Z93. The pattern could be considered typically Turkic and not a Jewish or Jew or Israelite for this context DNA lineage. Their haplotypes were also identified and reported here. The haplotypes indicated that both Khazars were unrelated to each other in the sense that their common ancestor lived as long as 1500 to 2500 years earlier. Let's read that again. The haplotypes indicate that both Khazars were unrelated to each other in the sense that their common ancestor lived as long as 1500 to 2500 years earlier than them in the middle of the second millennium BC, beginning of the first millennium BC, typically during typically Scythian or Scythian times, or somewhat earlier. Their haplotypes are unrelated to well-known Jewish haplotypes of the R1A. Salaki, if I messed that up, you heard me out.
No, all praise and glory. So again, now the issue is when we're going back 2,500 years ago, or we're going back 1,500 years ago, and we're looking at DNA from a particular region, right? And what we are asserting is that there was a group of people called the Khazarians, and there was a subclass group that came later. So our question is, if a group of people move to a particular land and region, and then 500 years, 600 years later, they move again to somewhere else, then we go back to that original land and get a DNA sample from years before these people moved into that region, and then we say their DNAs don't match. My question is, why would they match? If you have another group of people moving into an area, it was in these people's heart, Esau, to hide himself on purpose. So the idea that the Ashkenazi Jews' DNA actually goes back to the Levant and not to the land of Khazaria, we agree with. Do you all hear me? We agree with that. Now, the question is, why is this? Because what we're saying and what we're asserting is that the fact that these people migrated there, stayed there for a time, and then migrated somewhere else. And the DNA samples that are being dug up from the burial sites are dated older than the time that these people have been there. Now, we can evaluate this. Let me get Obadiah, the book of Obadiah, concerning Esau seeking to hide himself. If Esau is Jacob's twin brother, wouldn't his DNA also come from the Levant? That's our question, brothers and sisters. Wouldn't Esau's DNA also come from the Levant? You got that, Obadiah?
I'm getting that now. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
One sec.
And I believe this is a very important part that's mentioned because in the video that we watched, they never addressed this migration pattern. If I'm looking to sample DNA and it's dating back older than the people when they were there, why would it be a surprise that they don't match the original DNA of that land? Why would they match that? Nobody's asserting that the original Khazarians are Esau. We're saying that there was Esau that moved there, right? And we're going to show you.
This is Obadiah. You want verse 6?
Yes, sir.
This is Obadiah, verse 6. It says, how are the things of Esau searched out? How were his hidden things sought up?
Right. How are the secret things of Esau searched out? So everyone is saying, well, the Ashkenazi Jews' DNA come from the Levant. We agree. We just saying that Jacob had a twin brother. Okay, let's make that clear. Let's go into some history here.
Before we move from this point of Obadiah 1:6, let's not just it's something I want to expound on real fast before we move along. When it said how are the things of Esau searched out in your KJV Bible is interesting. Those are questions in this verse. How were his hidden things sought up? Those are questions, but these sentences end in exclamation points. So it's as if someone is screaming this information at you. They're screaming at you, man. They're really passionate about how do you find this man? And we can't look past that as light. In a few seconds, Jeremiah, I'm gonna look up something real fast. Searched out right there. That word searched out, that phrase is H2664 in the Hebrew, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it says this. It says this when you go to the Strong. Let's read the outline of biblical usage. To search out, disguise oneself. This person has disguised himself. Esau has disguised himself. So a lot of times as brothers researching this information, if you're not Bible heavy, then what you're going to do, you're going to fall for the disguise instead of unmasking him, right? Remember what they used to say on Scooby-Doo? I would have gotten away with it if it wasn't for you meddling kids. See, these meddling Precepticons are going to expose him. Let's continue to read those words. They would have got away with it if it weren't for us, Jeremiah. It says, to search out, to devise, to search, test, to be searched out, exposed, to search through, search for, to be searched for, sought out, to disguise oneself, let oneself be searched for. Let's get down to the Strongs and we'll land right here. It says primitive root. Listen what it says, to conceal oneself. To conceal oneself. This is why it's easy for people to say they debunked it, because they haven't unmasked the multi-layered mask. You might have pulled off one layer of the mask, but did you pull off the next mask? This is a very deceitful person, a cunning man we're dealing with here. He was a cunning hunter. In order to be a cunning hunter, You must conceal yourself in the bushes so that you don't get caught. People walk clean past you every time. Who wear the hunter clothes? Side note. Okay. To change makes diligent search, disguise self. There I go again. Disguise self, hide, search for, search out or out. So we just need to keep that in mind as we're uncovering this, man. This person has hid himself extremely well. He has masked himself. So even when you see him, if you don't know, then you don't know, and you don't even know if you're seeing him or not. But if you know, you know. Go ahead, Jeremiah.
Right. All praise and glory. So again, this is something that's not being talked about. This migration. We want to take a look at it, right? Want to take a look at it. One second here. One second. Say something real quick. Is
No, I was just reading the comments of the homie Yasharah. He was reading his comments, and it says, plug it up, baby. It says, Yasharah said, right here. Let me get back to that comment. It says, he has taken the identity of all they have murdered and conquered. That's right. That's exactly right, Doc. He has taken the identity of all these people, man. And that's why it's hard to just get a grasp on this guy. Because you read prophecy and he's over there in our land. Then you read prophecy and he's over here in America. You see what I'm saying? Then you read prophecy and the Lord gonna come from his land, but you look at his land desolate. So what's going on, man? This is not the casual case. Okay? This will not be an easy case. This is you finding your greatest adversary and how he works. This is your mortal enemy. He has to hide himself right in plain view. And this is not impossible. We should have in mindset, especially to us who are waking up to the fact that we are Israelites, right? Remember, we were hid right in plain sight, right, Jeremiah?
that's right.
We were hid right in plain sight. I mean, people were looking for the Jews. So-called black people were looking for the Jews, and we right here. So this is not impossible for the wool to be pulled over your nose. In this case, straight goat hair to be pulled over your nose, pulled over your eyes.
Right.
Very
Let's look at this Arthur Coastlaw, the 13th tribe. You can see that is. Let's start at Arab historian. I think this is very important, and I think this is being missed in the discussion. A migration took place, brothers and sisters, and we're going to prove it. Read.
You say you wanted that Arab, okay. This looks like section 4 or something, page 22. It says, I'll start at the highlight. Arab historian traces the origin of the Khazars back to Japheth, the third son of Noah. Japheth, the Japheth motive recurs frequently in literature. Excuse me. While other legends connect them with Abraham or Alexander the Greek.
Right. So one thing of note, right? Arab historians have traced this. So these are not Arthur Coastlaw's writings, right? But notice that they make reference to Noah and Japheth, right? Very important. Read on.
Could I be heard?
Yeah.
All right. It says, we stop at? Continuing on. One of the earliest factual references to the Khazars occurs in the Syriac Chronicle by Zechariah Rhetor, dating from the middle of the 6th century. It mentions the Khazars in a list of people who inhabit the region of the Caucasus.
Right.
Other sources indicate that they were already much in evidence of a century earlier and intimately connected with the Huns.
Intimately connected with the Huns. Just for reference, what do white people call themselves today? Is
Caucasians.
right, and this is in reference to the Caucasus Mountains in Georgia, Russia.
Mm-hmm.
I want to make that clear, right?
Hey, you know what, bro? It's funny, right? Let's just quick unmask a few layers that we've covered so far in unmasking them. All right, Khazars, that can be unmasked. We call them white people. That has to be unmasked. And then right here, we're steady unmasking. They have an intimate relationship with the Huns. Then we have the word Caucasians. That's 4 layers of unmasking so far. Already. We're just scratching the surface. I'm listening to you, Mia.
Right. Let's move on here in the book here.
All right. With the Huns in 448 AD or 448, the Byzantine Empire, Theodosius II, sent an embassy to Attila, which included a famed rhetorician by the name of Priscus. He kept a minute account not only of the diplomatic negotiations, but also of the court intrigues and goings on, Slaki, in Attila's sumptuous banqueting hall. He was, in fact, the perfect gossip columnist and is still one of the main sources of information about the Hun customs and habits. But Priscus also has anecdotes to tell about a people subject to the Huns, whom the Khazars, that is very likely Khazarians or white Khazarians, as distinct from the black Khazarians.
This is very important, and this is what's not being talked about. This second-class citizen in the land of Khazaria. Nobody's mentioning this, right? Meaning that there was a people that came there that were not the original Khazarians, that were second-class citizens in Khazaria, and they were white. And the original descendants of Japhet were what color is?
Dark colored people, black people, if you will.
And that is the descendant of Japhet. Now, I didn't write this book. Don't get mad at me. Okay? So we see a distinction there when we go into having discussions with our brothers concerning the descendants of Japhet, right? And the so-called people with a lack of melanin. Now, I want to make this clear. This is not at all a pheno argument. Pheno can change based upon intermingling. So it's not about that. It's about the idea that DNA has proven that the Ashkenazi Jews are from the Levant. Guess what, brothers and sisters? We agree. And if that's the case, who is these people here, these second-class citizens in Khazaria? Read.
Where you at? You need to give me another page.
Did you finish that? Okay.
Yeah. The Byzantine Empire Priscus tried to win turn. This warrior race over to his side, but the greasy Khazar chieftain named Kadriak considered the bribe offered to him inadequate and sided with the Huns.
With the Huns. See that?
Mm-hmm.
And so that means now that this second-class citizen, this warrior clade, right, sided with Hun, this Attila the Hun, to do what? Read.
Attila defeated Caridoc's rival chieftains and installed him as the sole ruler of the Khazars and invited him to visit his court. Caridoc thanked him profusely for the invitation and went on to say it would be too hard for a mortal man to look in the face of a god. For as one cannot stare into the sun's disk, even less could one look into the face of the greatest God without suffering injury.
So
Attila,
as we can clearly see, the original inhabitants of Khazaria was taken down, and there was a replacement regime that was put in place. Is that what you're getting from that? Is?
Because he ain't
Right.
pay up right. Dude paid.
Right.
He came up short with the bread.
So now, if we go back and check the DNA before this transition of power, wouldn't we get the DNA from the original inhabitants, which poses as this quote unquote Khazarian DNA? And so wouldn't it be different from these second class people that got reinstalled as sole ruler?
Right. If I'm following you as you're teaching this, that would be like saying, okay, let's go to America and dig up some bones. And we dig up some bones from the people who came over here around 1400, the predominantly so-called white man, right? And they start studying those bones, and they say, hey, these bones are from white people, right? The Caucasians. But then somebody else dig up bones, and they get bones from the so-called Native Americans. Those DNA structures should be different, even though they're the same land. Is that what you're? That's what I'm grasping out of the teaching. Am I off?
Absolutely, right. So if we're looking at DNA and we're finding this, what we're simply saying, family, is we have to take this in consideration. So now we need to figure out, where did these second-class people come from who got installed as sole rulers? John?
Let me get back to it. When we stop at did we read that? I was reading ahead. It says cut. I'm gonna start at that, to his court. No, we read that. We read that Attila must have, last line of the first paragraph, you all. Attila must have been pleased, for he confirmed Caridoc in his rule. Priscus's Chronicle. They didn't need that extra S right there. Confirms that the Khazars appeared on the European scene about the middle of the 5th century as a people under Hunnish sovereignty. Didn't he just get paid by the Hun? Didn't he just get paid by the Huns?
Right.
And sided with them? Okay. And may be regarded together with the Magyars and other tribes as a later offspring of Attila's horde.
Right. So now we have uncovered something that is not being talked about. These two subclass of people in one area, one being overthrown. Okay. Now, fast forward, right? Because these people then converted to Judaism and then got removed by Genghis Khan. Let's read that. We just want the first paragraph.
All right. This book traces the history of the ancient Khazar Empire, a major, but almost forgotten power in Eastern Europe. That's how you mask things. You kind of damnatio memorize it out of history, right? Major, but almost forgotten power in Eastern Europe, which in the Dark Ages became converted to Judaism. Khazaria was finally wiped out by the forces of Genghis Khan, but evidence indicates that the Khazars themselves migrated to Poland and formed the cradle of Western Jewry.
And became Ashkenazi Jews. See? So now we're wondering, how could the Ashkenazi Jews trace back? Let's see. We're gonna go into a book called The Roman Empire from Septimius Severus to Constantine. It was very important to deal with this because something happened in 197 AD to the original aristocrats of Rome. What happened? Start from the top.
All right, let's get there. It says, I don't know what page number we on, Jeremiah, but it says the 3rd century, the nature of the problem. You called out the book, Jeremiah?
Yeah. I called the book, this is Rome, the Roman Empire from Septimius Severus to Constantine, written by Pat Sutherland.
It says the 3rd century. You just want the first paragraph? You want all of it?
Yeah, the first paragraph.
The 3rd century opened and closed with the emergence of strong.
This is page 23, by the way. Go ahead.
Praise. The 3rd century opened and closed with the emergence of strong, vigorous emperors, victorious in civil war, each of whom survived long enough to consolidate his power and reorganize the state. Septimius Severus defeated his last rival.
Hold on now. So check this out. So it says the century opened and closed with as they embarked on the emperor's victorious in what? Civil war. So Rome broke out in civil war, right? He broke out in civil war, each of whom served enough, right? So when we're looking at Septimius Severus, we're looking at a civil war that took place, and Septimius Severus won that war. And so what happens to the leaders of his rivals during that civil war? So what I want to show is a dynasty was developed. Read on.
All right.
Right. As he survived long enough to consolidate his power. Go ahead, bro.
I'm trying to figure out the place.
Right there, Septimius Severus.
All right, Septimius. Right, I got you. Septimius Severus defeated his last rival and embarked on a sole rule in 197. Diocletian's turn came nearly 100 years after Severus, 284. Both made determined efforts to secure the succession, each in his own way, and not entirely successful.
So this became a succession. Very important that you understand this dynasty that was developed in Rome as they warred against the original aristocrats. For those that don't know, Septimius Severus was a black man, and we're going to prove it. Read.
It says, in their own way and not entirely successful in the longer term, both developed an autocratic style of government, and both relied upon fabricated divinity and sacrosanctity of the imperial household to bolster their absolutist regimes.
So if they were working to empower their imperial households, what happened to the original imperial house is?
They must have fell away.
They got pushed away. We're going to prove it. Read.
Imperial household to bolster their absolutist regimes. Both strengthened the frontiers and built or rebuilt fortifications. Finally, both reorganized the army in accordance with their own immediate needs and those of the state. Constantine took the work of his predecessors to its conclusion, creating a sacrosanct of absolutist dynastic regime, but the changes that he crystallized had already begun under Diocletian.
See that? So as we can clearly see, there was a dynasty at work here.
You're sounding bad coming through right now. See if it
My
clears
end
up.
is sounding bad.
No, it cleared right. It cleared right up. Go ahead.
Okay, come. So as they formed a dynasty, as they replaced the original regime, and then they fortified their fortresses and their cities, right? And Constantine ultimately building the Constantine wall to keep people out. I wonder why. Is these the same people that was pushed into Khazaria? Let's see what Septimius Severus was from. Read the highlight.
Okay. Page 44, same book. After the celebrations were over, and after a short stay in Rome, Severus, his whole family, including, can't see that because of the shine, prefect Plotinus, embarked on a voyage to Africa, the emperor's homeland. Let's read that again. Including the prefect Pontinus, embarked on a voyage to Africa, the emperor's homeland, a native Lepkis mantra. He promoted men from the east, Julia Dominus homeland, while he was on campaign in Parthia. Severus's generals had been busy in the African provinces, extending the frontiers, taking more territory, rationalizing boundaries, protecting routines, and building new forts.
So understand this is 197 AD. So by the time Attila the Hun makes it to Khazaria, there's already two class of people there, right? So I want to make this clear. Let me get Job chapter 30. And give me them manifold scriptures first. Baba Kasha.
We're going to get Job 11 and 6. This is the book of Job, chapter 11, verse 6. It says, and that he would show thee the secrets of wisdom, that they are double to that which is. Know therefore that God exacted of thee less than thine iniquity deserve it. That right there, that word double in the Hebrew is also manifold. And we can find it in another place showing that wisdom is manifold in Wisdom of Solomon chapter 7. Jumping over to Job chapter 30. We're going to start at Job chapter 30, verse 1. You ready for me to read out?
Come on.
It says, this is the book of Job chapter 30, verse 1. But now, they that are younger than I have me in derision, whose fathers I would have disdained to set with the dogs of my flock. Yeah, whereto might the street prophet of their heads, excuse me, profit me, in whose old age was perished. Listen to this carefully. For want and famine, they were solitary and fleeing into the wilderness in former times, time desolate and waste. Verse 4, who cut up mallows by the bushes and juniper roots for their meat. So these are what you call them? Hunter gatherers. Remember who was the
Right.
hunter? They were driven forth from among men.
They were what?
Driven forth from among men.
They were driven forth from among men. So what happened to the original aristocrats of Rome? They were driven forth from amongst men. Read.
They cried after them as after a thief, to dwell in the clefts of the valleys, in the caves of the earth, and in rocks. Verse 7. Among the bushes they brayed, and the nettles they were gathered together, and under the nettles they were gathered together. They were children of fools, children of base men. Children of base men. They were viler than the earth. Let me keep going. That's it.
Now, if we go off into some of the writings of Ibn Fetterlin, you will find out of the disgusting ways and habits of these people in Khazaria. Unbelievable disgust. Right? And again, this is just a brief review, man. We ain't playing no games when it comes to this Esau thing, man. All right? So this ain't no light work for us. We're able to go in and actually dive off into these people's characteristics and why is Job saying what he's saying. Give me the book of Obadiah chapter 1, verse 2.
You said Obadiah chapter 1, verse 2? It says, this is verse 2. Behold, I have made thee small among the heathen. Thou art greatly despised. It says, the pride of thine heart had
Thou art
deceived
what?
thee. Greatly despised.
Greatly despised. Come on.
The pride of thine heart had deceived thee. Thou that dwellest in the clefts of the rock, that's what it just said in Job, whose habitation is high, that saith in his heart, who shall bring me down to the ground?
Now that's all I want, right? Whose
Mm-hmm.
habitation was high. Read the very first verse.
Verse 3.
No, read verse 1.
4, verse 1. The vision of Obadiah, thus saith the Lord God, concerning Edom, who is Esau, who is the Edomites. We have heard a rumor from the word.
That's it on that. That's it on that. So I wanted to make it clear that connection with Job and what he was referencing, that these people dwelt in the clefts of the rocks. And again, we have history to go into this, right? So let's make another connection with Rome and Edom. You got that that source?
Kind of Jasher. Let me open it up. This is Jasher, chapter 90. Okay, and we're gonna start at verse 5. How about that? And the children of Kittim pursued them and reached Hadad, king of Edom, who was running before them, and they caught him alive, and they brought him to Albinus, king of Kittim. And Albinus ordered him to be slain, and Hadad, king of Edom, died in the 40th year of his reign. And the children of Kittim continued their pursuit of Edom, and they smote them with a great slaughter. And Edom became subject to Kittim. What's going to happen to him? And the children of Kittim ruled over Edom, and Edom became under the hand of the children of Kittim, and became one kingdom from that day. And from that time, they could no more lift up their hand against and became lift up their heads, and their kingdom became one with the children of Kittim. That's what you want to? Hello?
Yeah, Salakia. I just want
Yeah,
to take
Sister
a
Sia,
small break. I want everybody to send up their prayers. Go ahead, Iz.
No, Salakia, I was reading a message. You was already on it.
Yeah, Khan, I want everybody to send up their prayers for this family, man. All praise and glory to the Most High. May you send down protective angels over this family,
Yes,
and deliver them in this time, and strengthen them. Right. So let everyone remember this family in prayer. All praise and glory.
In the name of Yahweh shall we pray. Amen.
Oh yeah. All right. So now as you got to read it again, because that kind of had me off a little bit, man. All praise and glory, man, for that family.
Yeah, and much love, sister, to you and your family. And we would not just pray right now, but we will continue to pray and keep your family in prayers. This is Jasher chapter 90, and we started at verse 5. We'll start at verse 8 at the highlight right here in my book. We'll start at 6 just to get the history of what happened. Edom is in a war with Edomites. It says, and Edomites ordered him to be slain, and King Hadad of Edom died in the 40th year of his reign. And the children of Kittim continued their pursuit of Edom, and they smote them with a great slaughter. And Edom became subject to the children of Kittim. And the children of Kittim ruled over Edom, and Edom became under the hand of the children of Kittim, and became one kingdom from that day. And from that time, they could no more lift up their heads in their excuse me. And their kingdom became one with the children of Kittim. So Edom's and Kittim's reign just became one.
And how does that happen, family? Through marriage, right? So, again, now we have a connection to Rome and Edom, right? So the information that we're bringing out is on point. I want to share something else here. Let's go into the Jewish encyclopedia and see what they have to say for themselves. Would you like to do that, Is?
Kind to that connection. I'll do that. You gonna let me just pull it up.
Yeah, we're gonna go into the Jewish encyclopedia.
All right. I haven't pulled up. I don't know. It just hit Esau Jewish Encyclopedia if you want to get to that link. That'll be the fastest way. I'm gonna scroll down a little bit.
All right, I'm putting it on the screen.
All right, bet.
I'm putting it on the screen, Is.
Kind. All praise.
Can you see it?
Yes. It says the Edomite Jews began to call themselves Hebrews and Israelites in 1860. Encyclopedia Judaica, 1971, volume 10, 23. Strictly speaking, it is incorrect to call an ancient Israelite a Jew, or to call a contemporary Jew an Israelite or Hebrew. Jewish Almanac, 1980, page 3. Next, it say Esau dash Edom is modern Jewry. Don't beat around the bush right here, do it.
Right.
Don't say debunk. Don't say possibly. Don't say could be. The mask is off from their own people. Esau dash Edom is modern Jewry. 1925 Encyclopedia, volume 5, page 41. They are not. It said they are not Israel or Judah. That's what it was saying. Hey, do you want any more information to confirm that out of the Bible? Or are you good?
Yeah, what you got?
That Ezekiel is gonna bring that case home.
All right, go ahead.
Also, as I'm turning here, the words of Christ. Remember what he said? That Jerusalem will be trodden down of the Gentiles until the times of the Gentiles be fulfilled in Luke 21:24. So there's no possible way the people over there could be them unless Christ is Rome, and he's not. We all know that. Looking at Ezekiel chapter 35, verse 9. 5 is a hit too. I'll read it just because. The book of Ezekiel, chapter 35.
Man. See, it be stuff like this. It be stuff like this that just I don't be understanding, brothers, man. Right? Watch this. Esau was left barren and desolate in Yemen. Are you saying that there's no Edomites on the planet Earth right now? Stop the madness, man. Esau have to be here to fulfill his end time prophecy.
Right in Isaiah 63, and here to defend this one. This is how Esau feels about us. Ezekiel 35 and verse 5. Because thou hast had a perpetual hatred and has shed the blood of the children of Israel by the force of the sword in the time of their calamity, in the time that their iniquity had an end. You see that? They have a perpetual hatred for us. Remember, it started off in the womb. Verse 9. Listen to what it says. I will make thee perpetual desolations, and thy cities shall not return. Ye shall know that I am the Lord. Listen to verse 10. Because that thou hast said, these two nations in your womb, and these two countries shall be mine, and we will possess it, whereas the Lord was there. What country is the Lord's country?
Right.
That's Israel. They said we're going to possess it. End times prophecy. Who's possessing it now? According to the history tonight, the Khazars, the same people that the brother Yeremiah been bringing out right now. That's biblical prophecy. You can't get around this. And we can take this even further.
Yeah, man, listen, we know we're going to dive off into this conversation more deeply. But as for the topic of the night, I just wanted to pose that question. If the original inhabitants of Khazaria were different from a different group of people moved there for a minimum amount of time, 400, 500, 600 years, and then they got moved out, why would their DNA match the original inhabitants? If you're giving me a quote unquote Khazarian DNA. And if the Ashkenazi Jews DNA goes back to the Levant, wouldn't Jacob's twin brother Esau have a similar DNA? This is why we went into the Roman connection to show the rise of Constantine, the rise of Septimius Severus, and the rise of Constantine completing the work and showing that they removed the original inhabitants of Rome through war. Where did they go? That Khazaria had a subclass group of people living there in which Attila the Hun empowered and replaced the original Khazarians. These things are not being talked about, nor are they being considered. All right. I want to deal with this last point, anti-Semitism. Shout out to my brother Joshua, who did an excellent job of bringing this out. We want to review a little bit of his video because anti-Semitism should come with certain it should come with certain law restrictions, right? It should inhibit these people in some kind of way. It shouldn't be able just to say something against somebody or identify a person who runs Coca-Cola or identify a person who runs the NBA or identify the people that runs in the NFL or Hollywood. It's just descriptions. And let me get this from Malcolm X.
Are you anti-Semitic?
Anti-Semitic?
You everything, and I'm wondering if you are personally anti-Semitic.
No. How can I be anti-Semitic when the Arabs are half the Muslim world is Semitic? If I was anti-Semitic, I'd be anti-Arab and anti-everything else. No, I think that in this country, there's one mistake that the Jews make. They put themselves in a position where whenever anybody asks the role that they play, they defend themselves by accusing you of being anti-Semitic. And he says that the man who's exploiting him in his community is white because it is a white man who owns all the stores. Now, is it an accident that these whites who own these stores are Jewish? If it's an accident, then exploiting isn't an anti-Semitic statement. It's just more descriptive of the man who's exploiting him.
Right.
Are you anti-Semitic?
Anti-Semitic.
You've many.
Powerful statement. Right. So we're going to go to Joshua to close this thing out as he speaks on sharing a video concerning anti-Semitism.
It's your race. Race one, it's just skin. It's the people you belong to. That's the problem. It's immutable. This is how they utilize anti-Semitism. And it's important that we're clear on that and we educate people on this, because the way people use it today, same thing with Black Americans claim systemic racism. No. You don't know what systemic racism is. Real systemic racism is like what we saw with the Dred Scott decision. That's systemic racism. When legislatures are involved and they're passing laws to discriminate against you based on your quote-unquote race or your skin color.
Right.
Separate but equal laws, Jim Crow, black codes, that systemic, and we could even argue that the New Deal was systemic racism because they purposely did not allow funding to go to people that was in agriculture. Why is that? How can that be deemed systemic racism? Because our people overrepresented agriculture at that time. effectively pushing us out, even us to dry during the Great Depression. Redlining comes from FDR and the New Deal. All right.
Anti-Semites believe racial character by assimilation or even conversion. These were said to be dangerous and threatening because of their, quote, Jewish blood. Anti-Semitic racism united pseudo-scientific theories with centuries-old and Jewish stereotypes. These ideas gained wide acceptance. The demeaning peace of Versailles, the hyperinflation of the 1920s, and the depression of 1929 fueled Jews' electoral economic life, made them convenient scapegoats for Germany's misfortunes. Enter Adolf Hitler. Hitler viewed world history as a race struggle for survival of the fittest. He saw Jews as the source of all evil, disease, social injustice, cultural decline, and forms of martyrdom. Anti-Semitism would become the predominant idea of the Third Reich. But it was against the Jews that the Nazi state mobilized all its resources for terror. The takeover of put into effect one after another. Jewish businesses were boycotted. Jews were Jews. Professions and Jewish children were barred from schools. Jews were subjected to public humiliation. The changes, whether gradual or sudden, were incomprehensible. Could imagine what would happen. Even Jews.
Now, what we're saying is this. We're not here to hate anyone. Put this disclaimer out here. This ain't about hating anyone. And we're not promoting no violent acts against anyone.
This is just
Jewish
about
people.
loving the truth.
Right? So we're not saying that, we're not promoting that, we're against that. We're showing that anti-Semitism comes with more than just commentary. It comes with more than just a video being shared by Kyrie Irving. It comes with legislation and restrictions upon a particular people, which we are adamantly against. All right? I want to make that clear. I just want to show that DNA is not adverse to the Bible. Now, when you're dealing with science, the age of the earth, and a multitude of other things, there are certain things that the Bible and science are opposed, that they have oppositions to. We're going to go with the Bible. But the thing is, science is a tool that is supposed to be used properly, which we can see in the Bible. You understand? So I pray that you all are able to receive this as far as the main questions about migration and have we considered these things. Any closing remarks is?
Can you hear me? Con, I would like
Yeah.
to read a scripture before we leave. Just on that science note, and I already know you know where I'm going. Because we have to be familiar with the ancient science should line up with this book, man. And a lot of times people make excuses to not use the book, but we standing on this book. We ain't budging off this book. We ain't moving this book. That's where we at, man. That's where we plant our feet on the word. This our foundation. To the brother who said, do we reject the Messiah? Heck, no, we ain't rejecting the Messiah. This is Timothy, 1 Timothy chapter 6 and 20. O Timothy, keep that which is committed to thy trust, avoiding profane, and vain babblings, conversations that don't go anywhere. By the time we get done with the conversation, anybody could be anybody could be anywhere, and the Bible don't make sense, nor does the logic and the reasoning of the person pushing the information not make any sense anymore, and we're just confused and left in ambiguity. But it says avoiding profane and vain babblings and oppositions of science, falsely so called. A lot of times we have to remember, because we're up against the powerhouse, we're going to deal with science falsely or so falsely called. We're not always dealing with real sciences and their smoke and mirrors attempt to hide the true identity of the Israelites. So a lot of this stuff will be science or pseudoscience or science that really doesn't have a valid conclusion. You know what I'm saying? So let's remember the scriptures as we go into these sciences. This is not to completely dismiss science. I love science. But what I've learned in my lifetime is that real science should line up with the Bible. You know, because real science is just detective work, research, and the discovery of the facts, which should line up with the Bible, which is discovery, research, and aligning it to the facts as well. So one more time, the last part of that verse, in oppositions of science, falsely so called. Be careful out there, family. Don't believe everything you hear. Research us, check behind us, make sure we're doing this thing right. We appreciate the love and attention. Also to the sister. Father, we thank you for the child, her family. Keep them covered under your mercy and your angels. We appreciate you showing that love towards her and her family right now. In the name of Yahweh shall we pray. Amen. Much love to that sister again, man. My heart goes out to you. And to the rest of the family, shalom, peace. I appreciate the instructions. Of course, first things first, I'll pray to the Most High. First things first. You got it, Jeremiah.
All praise and glory to Abanawi Yahweh Shem Mashiach Yahushua, man. Brother Lahab, any closing words, brother? All right, man. All praise and glory. We appreciate y'all, man, tuning in, tapping in with the source, man. We're gonna continue to work. Gonna continue to build with my brothers, challenge my brothers. I know they're gonna challenge me, and we're gonna do the best that we can to bring forth discussion we can. All praise and glory. I appreciate the time.
Hey, Salaki, Jeremiah. Hey, one more thing, family. I forgot to say, tell you, to put the link up for the Precepticon channel as well, man. You should be able to Google Precepticons. You should be able to find us on here. We'll definitely have the link out in future lessons so that we can get those follows up, so we can go live from there and continue to share a wealth of teaching and information that we've studied over the years, and continue to edify the Lord's flock. Appreciate you all.
That's right. All praise and glory. Peace and blessings, family. Shalom.
Who's coming with me? It's the shore side. Who's coming with me? The source now. It's the shore side. Over the game. Source now. Over the game. With a better roster. It's a play the better roster. Take them to play the roster. Let them never stop. It's the shore side. It's the shore side now. Taking over the game. Taking over the game. Put it on with a better roster. With a better roster. So play the lobster. But revenge can never stop us. Tell the cancer. You can call me a sick assassin. Call me a sick assassin. You can call me LeBron James. Call me LeBron James. But you never had me in the river. Chase the vision. But more them that cause the vision. Never been submissive. mission like I need permission. Nigga steady telling lies like a politician. Nigga need to cool it down, but we the new edition. Get a name is the source, check the reinvention. You think we not prepared for the fallout?